So, hello, Miss Jamelia. How are you?
Hello. Hello, Heatherlyn. I am fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. This has been a long time coming for us,
It
right?
has.
Probably not how we wanted to start it because it started with what?
It started with coffee.
It started with coffee. That's our thing. But I think we have to leave that for another time because, that's our thing, right?
Agreed.
So,
It's a story for another day because that's going to take us on a long tangent.
our conversations usually do take us on a long journey, doesn't it?
A beautifully long journey.
It takes us on a beautifully long journey. So, what are we here for? So, as I mentioned, we have Jamelia here, but I won't do any justice if she doesn't introduce herself. If she doesn't tell us what she's passionate about, what makes her wake up with purpose in the morning. And I'm gonna hand it off to you, and then we'll jump right into our questions. Take it away.
Okay. Started with a very loaded question about purpose. My name is Jamelia Gay, and I am a Trinidadian living in Canada.
Hmm.
And what makes me wake up in the morning? Well, God, first of all, let's start there. Um, I'm very faith-based, so having the opportunity to start a new day, to start fresh, especially if the previous day wasn't the best, because let's be honest, we have those. Um, I like the new starts, the fresh starts, and the very timely continuation. Um, I am driven by my faith, my family. I am driven by my abilities and the way that I can use my abilities to support others, but I'm also driven by a thirst for knowledge. Many
Mm,
people who know me refer to me as a serial student. I'm always studying something, learning something, going back to school, taking a class, because there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and I feel like it would be a waste not to take it in as much as possible and then give it back, right?
mm.
When you get, you give. When you learn, you teach. And as a teacher myself, I feel like that saying is very multifaceted and very purposeful.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you
You
for
know?
sharing that. People may not know is that this is not just having this interview here. We have quite a little bit of a background, right? Like
A little bit. That's an
just a
understatement.
little bit, right? But so I appreciate you sharing that with us and telling us about a little bit about yourself. I'll go
Mhm.
into the next question.
Yeah.
And what is your migration story?
Mhm. Okay. My migration story comes in tears. I had, when I was thinking about my migration story, I initially referred to it as a false start, but I'm a big proponent of positive language, right? And the way that you refer to things, especially related to yourself. So instead of false starts, I'll make that shift
Mm,
to trial runs. I had two previous trial runs before I actually came and remained. I've always visited Canada. I do have quite a few relatives up here, so it was very easy to visit in that sense because I had places to stay. Um, my parents and I came when I was 8, and we stayed here for some time. I actually went to school in Brampton, big up Brampton, B-town. I went to school in Brampton when I was 8. Um, my parents decided to go back home. Our early education system is a bit more advanced and comprehensive in the Caribbean. So we went back. So that was the first trial run. Then fast forward to secondary school, finished CXC in Trinidad, and moved again to Canada to finish high school. Came with my parents, but they were going to return to Trinidad. I was going to stay here with some relatives. Had already did the interviews for the high school, got accepted for the high school. I was going to go to Notre Dame, and about 2 days before my mom was returning, I felt this sense of impending doom. And it may sound like an exaggeration, but the brain of a teenager still developing, and then full disclaimer, the brain of a neurodivergent who didn't yet know she was a neurodivergent, emotions came in extremes. And I felt the advanced loneliness that would come when my mom returned to Trinidad and knowing that both of my parents would be back home and I would be here with relatives who were family and who, I was comfortable with, but it's not the same when your parents and your guardians aren't there, right?
I got
And
you.
I just knew that I wasn't ready. And I told my mother, I said, listen, and we talked. Um, I don't want to stay anymore. Can I
Mm,
come back home? Can I please come back home? I don't feel ready to be away from you and daddy. I don't feel ready to be away from the country that I was raised in, that I grew up in, the country that I knew. I knew Canada because we always visited, annually or every 2 years, but visiting a place and residing in a place is two completely different experiences, right?
wow. Hmm.
Um, and being a guest in a relative's home and now moving into a relative's home, two completely different experiences. As lovely as they may be, it's not
Right.
the same. So thankfully, I have very supportive parents, and we had a
You do.
conversation, and
You do.
right? I really,
You
really
do.
do.
You really do.
Um, and this is not to say like it's smooth sailing all the time. Like that's
Yeah.
just not reality. But I have very supportive parents, which I'm very thankful for. And I had a conversation with my mom in person. We called home, spoke to daddy, and they said, "Okay, come back home." And it's so funny because I had a big going away party and all of these things. Like, we're sending you off, have fun, study a lot, and then I came back home like, plot twist, guys, I'm back. Um, but I'm thankful for that. I don't regret it, but I do think about the what ifs and what life might have looked like if I stayed, if I started my migration journey, um, my more permanent migration story a bit sooner. And then the third trial run, which became the so far permanent trial run, came when I was 20, turning 21, and I moved here for university. I went to York University first, the first of many. As I said, I study a lot.
Hmm.
um, but I enrolled and got accepted at York University. I moved here when I was 20. My parents stayed back, so I moved, came on the flight by myself. I think it was the second time I'd flown alone, but flying alone to go back home and flying alone to go away from home is two completely different
Yeah.
experiences. The
Yeah.
emotions, the thought process, 5 to 6 hours on a flight with strangers around you, thinking, what is my life going to look like when I land? Is
Mm,
it's it's indescribable. It's
mm.
indescribable, and it felt like traveling from one world to the next on one vessel. But I'm still here. So the experience was mostly positive. Had some bumps along the way. It wasn't as smooth a transition as I would have hoped for. It wasn't as smooth a transition as I expected. And adjusting took more time than I thought it would. In hindsight, I know now it wasn't just migrating as a young adult, it wasn't just migrating as a human being, it was migrating as someone who had ADHD, didn't know she had ADHD. So that came with a whole roller coaster of speed bumps. And I was going too fast on those speed bumps.
You have said some important things in here, and I
Hmm.
and I don't want to add to what you said because I wanted to sit here. But when you started off, you said I felt like it was a false start, and I think we do this thing because that was an image that I had thought about yesterday. We
Hmm.
do this
We all the time.
all the time. I felt like that false start. I wanted to make this video of like, somebody false starting and it's like, oh no, you got to come back and do it all again. So it's we have this ability
Connection. Hmm.
connection where we're able to like think about something and not realize the other has thought about it. And
At
here
the
we are
same
again,
time.
doing it again on time.
Coincidence? I
I
think not.
think not. Oh my gosh, are we doing that here too?
And we're just getting started. This convo was packed. Check out the next one.